Lions are positioning for a surgical, playoff-minded tweak to the secondary that keeps the locker room steady and the cap sheet clean. Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report. I'm here with a clear read. Straight from the layers that matter. What the front office is weighing as the deadline approaches. How the coaching staff would deploy a specific type of corner right now. Why the next 3 games will act as a truth serum for the plan. And where a name you've seen bubbling under the radar. Roger McCreary fits into a mood that helps today without handcuffing tomorrow. I'll walk you through the football first, then the money, then the timeline. And only know final when all the dots connect. I'll tell you exactly why this conversation tonight isn't noise. It's a path the Lions can take if the price lands where the process demands. Here's the football. The Lions' identity on defense is built on discipline at the top of the route and violence at the catch point. With a structure that toggles between middle-of-field open looks and leverage first-man principles, all while protecting the seams with communication instead of hero ball. That identity survives injuries, but it doesn't love chaos. And over the last stretch, we've seen the cost of little leaks. One missed tackle in the alley that turns a 5-yard gain into 14. One slot switch late that turns 3rd and 7 into new life. The plan from the building is simple. Reduce variance in the middle of the field without pulling cash from the future or snaps from the core. You do that by adding a corner who is technician first, body control second, speed third. A corner who can live inside, survive outside and zone shells when asked. Tackle enough to avoid explosive YFC. And this is crucial handle the coverage communication rules that Detroit drills relentlessly on Wednesdays. Roger McCreary checks those boxes as a role player with playoff utility. He's not arriving to be CB1. He's arriving to keep the floor high on drives 2 through 6. When the opponent lines up their favorite empty beater and tries to manipulate leverage with motion, he plays with quiet feet at the top of routes, trusts film to undercut option stems, and has the ball skills to make quarterbacks honest when they try to throw late into the slot window. That matters in January, when margins get thin and coordinators spam the same 3 concepts until you blink. On fit, I want to be specific so you feel the plan, not just hear it. In Detroit's match quarters families, the nickel slot must identify 3 things pre-snap, with a fast 3 lives after motion, which hip his help is actually on, not where it started, and how the back's release will distort the count on the perimeter. McCreary's best tape shows he reads 2-to-1 with clarity, doesn't panic on switch releases, and squeezes routes to help with his body instead of grabbing with his hands. In man match on 3rd and medium, he's disciplined enough to push fade stop to the sideline and live, with a contested catch rather than overplaying a hypothetical break that never comes. In red zone, he trusts inside leverage and denies cross-face under the post. That's culture here. Is he a perfect tackler? No, but neither is he a liability when the call sheet protects edges and the post safety is timing the alley. And when you rotate coverage late to bait the throw into a trap, he has the eyes to spring, not spectate. That's a coaching win. Now the roster map, because names matter only in context. The Lions have a core that can win now front, second level, and a back end with the right leaders to echo calls cleanly. What they need is a slot-capable CB who doesn't require special rules, who can step in on drive 3, drive 7, and 2-minute when offenses dial up their money routes to the sticks. The goal is to smooth the dips without asking a young safety to live in space he's not ready to own, and without pushing an outside corner into an inside job that steals their best traits. McCreary's toolbox hips that stay patient, eyes that don't bite the first fake, transitions that don't lose the upfield shoulder fits the job description. Pair him with the current rotation and the puzzle looks smarter. The outside keeps its length and press discipline. The slot becomes a communication hub again. And the safety pitcher doesn't have to compensate with panic rotations that open seams. That's the football case. Here's the money and mechanics. The part that usually gets messy and here quietly is tidy. The Lions have been explicit about rolling cap into internal extensions and preserving flexibility for the summer. This is not the time to rent a star at a star price. It's the time to rent a role player at a role price. McCreary is in the final year of his rookie deal, which means the remaining cash is small and the opportunity cost is the pick you send, not the future you mortgage. Detroit's appetite at this deadline is for moves on the Zadarius Smith scale from last season's Logic, Day 3 capital, maybe a conditional escalator for playtime or team wins, and a clean exit if it's not a fit. That's the market lane where a slot-capable CB lands when the selling team is realistic about its timeline. For Tennessee, there's clarity too. If they're pivoting toward picks and snaps for younger depth, moving an expiring slot corner to a contender for Day 3 value and conditional sweeteners is straight business. For Detroit, the calculus is even colder. Does this number for this role move enough expected value in January to justify the pick? If the answer is yes, you do it. If the answer is maybe, you wait 2 weeks and let the schedule answer for you. And that schedule matters. The next block of opponents stress the exact things that test your slot: bunch stacks to force leverages, pivots at the sticks, running backs on choice routes from condensed splits, layer play-action glances where the window dressing begs your nickel to take the cheese. If the room handles it with current bodies, the urgency fades. Let's talk deployment, because I want you to be able to picture the first Wednesday install if a deal happens. Base 11 personnel answer, nickel match with alert to switch release McCreary communicates the point. Squeezes 2, carries to landmark, force funnels to the help. Trips answer, push the count to 3 and cap with depth. Don't chase the under, pass it and close the window at 6 to 8 yards. Bunch answer on 3rd and 4. Lock the point and banjo the in-out with timing. His job is to deny leverage first. Ball second, because the throw will be on rhythm. 2-minute answer. Lean inside against option routes. Force the quarterback to the outside breaker and tackle at the catch. Live for 4th down. When offenses go empty and motion the back to mess with your rules, he needs to reset the count with his mouth, not his hands. That's where his experience shows up. Special teams? Bonus reps that keep the active list flexible on game day. Now the risks, because a real plan admits what can go wrong. McCreary isn't a tone-setting hitter. If you ask him to fit the C-gap like a linebacker, you'll hate the tape. You protect that with alignment and force rules, not by pretending he's someone else. The path to failure is misassignment, not talent. The path to success is narrow but sturdy. Keep him on what he does best and let the scheme magnify it. That's how you turn a modest acquisition into a January edge. The trade architecture is straightforward if both sides are sensible. A 2026 conditional fifth that becomes a 4th with snap count thresholds, plus a late-round pick swap to clean the math. No player salary dump tied to the deal. No multi-year poison pills. There are alternatives, and I'll acknowledge them because you deserve the full board. You could chase a bigger outside name with man traits. But you'll pay double the pick price, and you might disrupt the room. You could go cheap on a depth-only corner and pray, but that throws January snaps onto a hope and not a plan. Or you could stand pat and trust internal growth and health. All three are viable depending on what the next 2 weeks reveal. What I like about the McCreary lane is how it matches Detroit's ethos. Disciplined, cap-smart, role-specific, playoff-oriented. I also want to flag the ripple effects you'll feel if this gets done. The pass rush benefits when the slot coverage is honest. Half a second of hesitation at the quarterback means one more step for the edge. The run fits get cleaner because the nickel isn't bailing out of fear of being late to the window. The safety rotations get simpler, which means less stress on late-game legs. And the coaching staff can heap the protection on 3rd and medium without lying to itself about the space behind the blitz. McCreary gives you a hinge at a price that respects the board. He isn't a star, but he's playable against the exact problems that decide tight games. 3rd down option routes, condensed splits, and quarterbacks who feast on indecision. You won't change your ceiling alone, but he can raise your floor on the drives that steal momentum. If the Titans are realistic and the ask stays in the lane we just drew, I make the call and I finish the paperwork. If the price rises into fantasy, I hang up and keep my powder dry. That's my read tonight, clean and calm. Now it's your turn. Tell me if you're in on McCreary at the right number, or if you pass and push the chips to a different room. And if you want this kind of honest, fast, and detailed Lions coverage when the next alert hits your phone, stick with me here on Lions News Fan Report. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this with the fan who texts you during every third down. When the next decision drops, you'll get it here first, with the film, the fit, and the truth.